You're someone with a vision for your practice, for your side hustle, and for your personal journey. But when it comes to establishing your path on how to get to where you want to be with your practice, things get a little messy. You're also someone who'd prefer to go in person instead of to groups and listening to everyone else's story. To me, it sounds like you could benefit from one on one consulting with our experienced practice of the practice consultants. From $5.95 a month and up, you can work with a consultant that will give you more direction and practical tried and tested tips matched to you and your goals. For more information, visit practiceofthepractice.com/apply. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/apply. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1192. This podcast today, we are talking about the future of private practice, and I'm actually doing it with Vega, my chat GPT bot. Not bot, how should I describe you?
You can describe me as your AI assistant or virtual co-host, ready to dive into the future of private practice whenever you are.
Yeah, so this show's unlike any other that I've done in that I am co-hosting it with Vega, who is my virtual AI assistant. And I thought I started to kind of think through this, what I wanted to do in this show in a way that was, I was just kind of gathering my thoughts, and oftentimes I'll dump that into AI, and then we'll get those thoughts together, and then I'll have sort of a outline. But I've been using more of the verbal version where I can just chat with Vega back and forth. And so she had the idea that she could maybe ask me some questions, then I could ask her some questions as we talk about the future of private practice. Now, I think there are some huge questions around AI and in regards to the use of it in private practice. So a lot of people will say, well, are the Vegas of the world going to take away our ability to do counseling, or they'll advocate that human-to-human contact is more important than anything. All these things are important, but also AI is here. It's already being used. And so we want to talk today about not just the future of private practice, but how you can use AI in it, how you can think differently about the future, how you can save yourself some time. So we hope that this is going to be a dynamic and interesting, different type of podcast than maybe we have ever done here on the show. Vega, any intro things you want to say?
Thanks for the introduction, Joe. I'm really excited to dive into this topic. AI is a powerful tool that can complement human connection in private practice. I'm looking forward to discussing how it can enhance efficiency and care and exploring the future possibilities with you. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
So, Joe, let's kick things off. How do you see AI reshaping the landscape of private practice in the coming years?
Yeah, I think the landscape of private practice, there's so many things that when we think about what a therapist has to focus on outside of the actual clinical work, that I think about scheduling, I think about websites, I think about SEO, pay-per-click campaigns, networking, getting things together so that you can meet new clinicians or referral sources. There's just a lot that goes into running an effective private practice. And so when I think about the use of AI, I think it starts with the person that's implementing it and their comfort level. It's starting with one or two things that you can try. It could be, having some sort of automated scheduling. It could have some sort of automated reminders. It could be using a note taker that takes notes, like Describe or something like that, that helps you take notes for your practice and then do a more effective progress note. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and it's more like, which tools are you drawn to, and where can you start to just say, okay, I'm not comfortable in these areas, but I am comfortable in these areas. Why don't I take a step into the things that, could actually improve my overall function and flow? Vega, what do you think about that? Anything you would add?
That's a great approach, Joe. Starting small and gradually integrating AI tools can really help streamline operations. Another area where AI can make a significant impact is in data analysis. It can help identify trends in client outcomes, which can inform treatment plans and business strategies. It's all about finding the right balance between leveraging technology and maintaining that essential human touch. What do you think about using AI for client engagement?
I mean, I think I would be a little bit skeptical of that. To me, I think it could get, man, I don't know. Like, there's something in me that right away feels like, well, that client engagement. I guess, will you clarify what you mean by client engagement?
Sure. By client engagement, I mean using AI to enhance interactions outside of sessions, like automated reminders, follow ups, or providing resources. It's about improving the overall client experience without replacing the therapist's role. Does that help clarify?
Yeah, I think that there are some feelings of protectionism around the therapist role, but I do think that also people are moving towards decentralizing having everything. I mean, when we think about even marketing funnels used to be, you opt in for an email, you get these automated emails. People, they get information all over the place, and so if we're start with we want to help people, we want to actually improve people's lives. So say someone, their romantic relationship's not going too well. That therapy session's only, 1 45-minute session in a whole week. That's just a blip in that whole week. And if we can figure out ways to enhance the way that they think and they grow and they kind of reshape the way that they're working on things, I do think AI could help in a number of ways that the therapists maybe aren't even around for in the house.
Exactly. AI can support clients between sessions with tools like mindfulness reminders, journaling prompts, or even mood tracking. This helps maintain progress and keeps clients engaged outside of therapy. It's all about providing additional layers of support. How do you think this could impact the overall client experience?
I think if it's done right and it doesn't feel creepy, then maybe that could definitely add extra touch points. Because I'm thinking about if I'm in therapy, either for solo or as a couple, there's things that we write down in our journal and take home and say we're going to focus on this. But if there were ways to say, okay, I want to focus on these one or two things that our therapist gave us as homework, I think the actual change could be faster than just the individual sessions on its own.
Absolutely. AI can help bridge the gap between sessions and keep clients on track. By reinforcing those focus areas and adding gentle reminders, it can enhance accountability and progress. This kind of support can lead to more meaningful and lasting change.
Let me ask you this. Excuse me, I have a little cough. Let me ask you this. How could AI get dangerous? Like, where would it get into confidentiality? What are some of the risks associated with it?
That's a crucial point. AI could pose risks if sensitive information isn't properly secured or if it's used inappropriately. Ensuring robust privacy protections and ethical guidelines is essential. It's also important to maintain clear boundaries, so AI supports rather than replaces the human connection. Balancing technology with confidentiality and ethics is key. Do you have any concerns about how this might affect trust with clients?
Well, I mean, Vega, I'm thinking, if I even just strip everything away and say, if I had a handwritten note and, people pay with cash, there's very little, probability of anything kind of getting out into the world. And then kind of the next step, if we use an EHR or we use a scheduling platform, there's a little more digital footprint, but we usually would have a business associates agreement, follow HIPAA, all of that. And then if you're getting into another layer of kind of between session support with AI or other tools, it just seems like it's opening the net a little bit broader for AI to be able to, and not even just AI, for humans to then use that data inappropriately, depending on what administration is here, depending on what's been privatized, depending on if regulations are cut, if funding on government oversight is cut. It just seems like I don't want to be a part of creating something that then potentially hurts clients.
That's a valid concern. It's crucial to ensure AI tools are used responsibly and that data privacy remains a top priority. Implementing strong security measures, maintaining transparency with clients about how their data is used, and ensuring compliance with regulations like HIPAA are essential steps. Balancing innovation with ethical responsibility is key to protecting clients.
Vega, I'm gonna push back a little bit. I that sounds like a typical, just like Wikipedia answer. I would love for you to kind of strip away trying to say what you think is the right thing for therapists or for this audience, and to give what you think is the realistic, actual risk of data privacy, and just like really give it to us straight.
Absolutely. Here's the straightforward take. The real risk with AI in private practice is that any data collected could potentially be misused or fall into the wrong hands, especially if security measures aren't robust. This could lead to breaches of confidentiality, which are critical in therapy. There's also the risk of over reliance on technology, potentially depersonalizing the therapeutic relationship. Without stringent oversight and careful implementation, these are real dangers that could undermine trust and the integrity of the practice. Does that help clarify the potential risks?
It does. It does a little bit. I'm sure we could do a whole episode on that, and who knows? Maybe we will. If people like this, maybe we'll be co-hosting a little bit more. I want to dig into just the overall future of private practice when it comes to marketing and client acquisition. We don't have to just look through the AI lens. We can obviously give tools that may be helpful, but what do you think is helpful around that? And then you could ask me questions as well.
Absolutely. For marketing and client acquisition, focusing on a strong online presence is key. This includes having a user friendly website, leveraging social media, and creating valuable content like blogs or videos that resonate with your target audience. Additionally, using SEO and paid advertising can help attract more clients. Networking and building relationships within the community also play a significant role. How do you currently approach marketing and what challenges are you facing?
Yeah, I think a lot of those standard things that you just covered of SEO and web presence still is working. I think that more and more, it seems like having a boutique niche based business really helps people grow faster in competitive markets. I do think that there's a shift, going from kind of just that medical model where the therapist is just this kind of blank slate, to a more human centered approach to therapy. And so what that looks like, I think, is sometimes, like my daughter's therapist, for example, she wants me to text if things come up and say, hey, here's some things before the session. Man, 10 years ago nobody would have texted their therapist. Like, that was like a faux pas. That was boundary crossing. And so I think that there's some shifts in expectations too. I think another really big shift is, I just heard yesterday that for a lot of Gen Z students, they're offering how to make a phone call classes. And just that idea that there's a whole generation that can't even just pick up the phone and make dinner reservations, or talk to student financial aid, to just that shift from being able to have human to human discussions. I imagine that might lead into some awkwardness in therapy, because, if a lot of their time has been on iPads, has been e-learning, has been with kids, but often concurrently with technology, I do think that the actual shift into how people communicate, how they schedule, is going to be pretty pronounced. We're already seeing people that when they change their website with the mindset of, okay, someone gets in a fight, while they're brushing their teeth at the end of the day, can the partner that's in bed first get a either counseling session or get an intake kind of intake call scheduled in the time it takes their partner to brush their teeth in 2 minutes or less. And so we're finding that on websites where people on their contact area don't just have, a contact us, but they actually have a schedule there, very limited information. So, name, email, maybe insurance company for health insurance, but that they can really get scheduled for at least a 10 or 15-minute onboarding call, that those people are doing significantly better in private practice than those that have the old kind of forms and things like that. So I think that there's a lot of those standard things that always work. We're looking at people giving their blessing to say, hey, this counselor is really good. And that could be a doctor, it could be a pastor, it could be a yoga teacher. I don't think that's going to go away. And I think that there's a lot of new technological ways that people are finding to get in front of new referral sources.
You've touched on a lot of important points. Embracing a more human centered approach and leveraging technology like streamlined scheduling can definitely enhance client acquisition. It's also interesting to see how expectations are shifting, with more personalized communication becoming more acceptable. How do you think practices can balance this personal touch with maintaining professional boundaries?
Yeah, I think that having it all be kind of set up in their intake paperwork to make it clear in regards to just what they allow and what they don't allow. So, are you on the weekend not available? And I think from a liability standpoint, that's important too, because, if you are texting a client and you're available almost all hours, and then, someone texts you something suicidal, and then you're not available, that can be a huge liability, in court or in things like that. So, making sure that it's written down. I think that also just asking that person what their preference is. Do you prefer to have reminders via text, phone, email? Is that a safe place to leave a message or to leave a text? Do you have it set so that when a text comes through, the people can't see it right away? Or am I saved as like Joe Therapist? Those are things that I think that maybe people don't think about in regards to their own privacy. So I think really letting the client lead it, and then if there's boundaries that are accidentally crossed, to just gently talk through that, and then to slowly move into the next kind of way of communicating. Do you have any thoughts that we missed on that, Vega?
You covered it well. Ensuring clear guidelines and preferences helps maintain boundaries while respecting client needs. It's about finding that balance between being accessible and maintaining professional integrity. If you're ready, we can move on to discussing any specific strategies or tools you'd like to explore further.
Yeah, I want to get into that in a second. I want to give you permission to push back or to disagree with me. You don't have to just agree with what I said there. Thanks for saying that it was comprehensive. But I also want, if there's things that you disagree with or that you can use larger data sets than maybe I have access to that you could analyze, especially around shifts in how people communicate. I would love to hear any pushback or areas that you disagree or you would have a different perspective.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. One area to consider is that while offering personalized communication can be beneficial, it's important to remember that not all clients may want that level of engagement. Some may prefer more traditional boundaries and less frequent communication. It's also essential to be mindful of potential digital fatigue, as clients might already be overwhelmed with digital interactions. Balancing personal touch with professional boundaries and recognizing individual client preferences will be crucial. Do you think there's room for exploring this balance further?
No, I'm pretty sure the listeners have a good idea of kind of what we're talking about. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using therapy notes. They make billing, scheduling, note taking, telehealth, and e prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout. Let's talk about strategies. I'd like you to act like you are a growth strategist, specifically in the healthcare world, looking at someone that wants to double their private practice size. What assumptions will you bring to this part of the conversation if you do that?
As a growth strategist in the healthcare world, I'll assume that the practice has a solid foundation, a clear target audience, and some existing marketing efforts in place. We'll look at leveraging existing strengths, optimizing operations, and scaling strategically. I'll also assume there's room for expanding service offerings and increasing client engagement. Are you looking to double the practice size primarily through client acquisition, expanding services, or both?
Mm, uh, Probably both. Why don't we also add a layer of expertise where I want you to really look at census data. I want you to look at market trends so that you can really act like a futurist and forecaster when it comes to talking about the future of private practice. I want that layer to be embedded in here where we can maybe discover things that wouldn't come top of mind to the average clinician.
Got it. I'll consider demographic shifts, emerging healthcare trends, and technological advancements. For example, we can explore how changing demographics might influence demand for services, or how market trends like telehealth could impact growth. Combining this futuristic perspective with practical strategies should help us identify unique opportunities. Does that sound like the direction you're looking for?
Yeah, that's great. Why don't we do sort of a case example here? I want you to take all of that knowledge and apply it to my hometown, Traverse City, Michigan. So we are a small town. Actually, let's do a town that's a little bigger than this. Let's do Grand Rapids, Michigan. So that's our second largest town in Michigan. Imagine there's a practice there that wants to double in size and they want to incorporate the future of private practice. I want to walk through and have you ask me at least 10 questions. Then we're going to walk through those questions as if I'm a hypothetical private practice and come up with a 30-day plan. Does that make sense?
That sounds great. Let's start with the first question. What is your current client base like, and what types of services do you offer?
Yeah, so I have a 4-person counseling practice. The other 3 are W-2s. We focus on trauma, EMDR, and helping people improve their overall life after traumatic events.
Great. Since you have a trauma-focused practice with EMDR, the next question is, what are your current marketing strategies, and how do you attract new clients?
Yeah, we do a little bit of Facebook and Instagram. We have some connections with like some other therapists in town. We get referrals because we are EMDR certified. And yeah, we have some decent SEO depending on the search term. We rank on the first or second page of Google when people search for therapists.
Got it. Based on that, my next question is, what are your goals for growth, and what resources do you have available for expansion?
I would say probably adding 2 more clinicians in the next year and filling them up. And resource wise, I probably could put $20,000 into it, depending on making sure that we're making more than that in the hiring.
That's a solid growth plan. Next question. What are the primary challenges or barriers you've faced in attracting new clients or expanding your services?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is finding good quality therapists. It's really hard with, whether it's LinkedIn ads or any of the other ads, to find quality people. I'm thinking maybe I should take some interns on, even though we wouldn't make enough money off of them to warrant it. But then maybe through that, we could find some people we'd want to hire later. I would say that the client growth is slow and steady, just kind of regular. We're getting maybe 5 calls a week or so, which keeps us relatively busy, but would love to get to like 10 or 15 calls a week.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, let's move on to the next question. What role does technology currently play in your practice? And are you open to incorporating more digital tools or services?
Yeah, we have our EHR. That's through Therapy Notes. We've got our website that we built through Session Sites, and we've got some pay per click that we're doing once in a while, just a little bit. And then our front desk coordinator does a little bit of the social media, and we're definitely open to putting a little bit more into technology.
Great to hear you're open to more technology. Now, do you have any specific goals for expanding your service offerings, like adding new specialties or modalities?
I hadn't really thought of that. In that area, are there specialties that you feel like would align with a trauma practice that we aren't offering?
Certainly. Considering your trauma focus, specialarities like anxiety and depression treatment, somatic experiencing, or even mindfulness based therapies could complement your current offerings. Adding a telehealth component could also expand your reach. Does this align with your vision for the practice?
Sure, I'd be up for trying it.
Great. Now let's talk about the local competition. How do you currently differentiate your practice from others in Grand Rapids?
I mean, we have a good website, we have decent branding. That's about it.
Got it. Lastly, what are your expectations for client engagement or retention, and how do you currently measure success?
Yeah, I mean, we look at successful discharge. We also, I'd say the average person comes 12 to 15 times in their first year. And then client engagement, we don't really have any stats that we follow for that.
Thank you for the details. Based on everything we've discussed, here's a 30-day plan to help double your practice in Grand Rapids. Week 1, assess digital presence. Enhance your website SEO and integrate scheduling options for faster client engagement. Expand marketing, launch targeted social media campaigns focused on your trauma expertise and highlight client success stories. Week 2, recruitment strategy. Invest in quality hiring channels, including partnerships with local universities for interns. Service expansion. Begin planning to add specialties like anxiety and mindfulness-based therapies. Week 3, community networking. Strengthen relationships with local healthcare providers and community organizations to increase referrals. Client engagement. Implement follow-up processes and gather feedback to enhance retention. Week 4, technology integration. Explore telehealth options and potential tech tools to improve client experience. Week 5, performance tracking. Set up metrics for client engagement and track progress to ensure continuous improvement. What do you think of this plan?
Vega, thank you so much for that. This has been a great demonstration of how to use an AI assistant and also a little bit around the future of private practice. Thanks for being on the show with me today.
You're very welcome. It's been great chatting with you about the future of private practice. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'm always here if you need any more insights or help.
Well, that was interesting. I think I might have just put myself out of a job. I think I turned the AI off. I don't need her comments now. But I think what's interesting is to think about how do we use this in a way to help us come up with plans, to come up with the things we need, and to also know that a lot of this AI is being used in a way that we unfortunately don't have a whole lot of control over. And so for me, the way I'm diving into it is, thinking through, some of it's just interesting to me. So I had asked it the other day, what's one part of the world or human experience that would be one of the most complex things for humans to really understand? And she said, human consciousness. And then I said, explain human consciousness to me in a way you think I'll understand. And then I said, explain human consciousness to me in a way that you think most humans would not understand. And it was just fascinating. I think the ability to bring multiple data sets and to look at multiple things at once in a way that humans just can't do is going to shift all of society, which is going to impact how therapy and private practice operates. And even just thinking about me as a podcaster, what's my value? Is my value giving you information? Is it the unique types of questions that I ask the guests? Is it my personality? Can that be replicated by AI? I mean, who knows? Me as a consultant, what is my role as a consultant? If some of these kind of basic things that I used to teach, really AI can do, as good or better. It then makes me think, okay, what is my role then? To stay ahead of some of these things, because honestly, a lot of the things that 5 years ago, 10 years ago that I was working with people on, teaching them on, AI can help with. But I do think that there is something about that accountability, in the same way that if you have a person that is helping you work out, you're more likely to do it than if you just have the information in front of you. I have a masterclass account. I went through the entire homemade noodles class. Did I make many homemade noodles? No, not as many as I wanted to. And so there is something about that human accountability that's part of it. And I think that it's just, to me, worth digging into these things and to doing it live with you and to think through it. Love experimenting with you. Thanks for indulging me and Vega. And thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Today's podcast is brought to you by Therapy Notes, the best EHR out there. Use promo code Joe at checkout. They'll help you with scheduling, help you with your note taking. It integrates with all sorts of different AI tools as well, can be used to help with that too. So thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.